Hello, 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 and welcome back to Messy and Iconic, where the conversation is hot, but the host is hotter. And to cool us off, and to help cool us off, I was so close. I was committed, guys. I was locked in, but I think I got thrown off because I'm still not sure if I want to say and or but the host is hotter. But I was ready to commit. Also, I need you to know that I haven't practiced that or thought about that at all literally since last week until just now. So all the improvement came just from the 10 minutes of me trying to figure it out at the beginning of last week's episode. I still haven't figured it out. If you're like, you had a whole week to think about this, how how are you still not locked in? It's because I didn't think about it at all. I'm just going with the flow. We're letting it evolve with us. So I was close though. I was close. I need to know, I need your opinion on but or and, where the conversation is hot, but the host is hotter, where the conversation is hot and I think it's but. I forgot which one I said. But I still think it feels weird when it's just me. But I like it. I like the essence of it, you know? Welcome back to Messy and Iconic, where the conversation is hot, but the host and guests and listeners, maybe I make it about you guys, where the conversation is hot, but the listeners are hotter. Kind of toss it back at you. Ooh, I kind of like that. Then it's like a little confidence boost for you guys right there at the beginning. All right. We're going to keep trying. We're going to keep trying every week. We're just going to go until it lands, we're going to let it find us. Okay? But we are hot. We're all hot. You're hot. I'm hot. Conversation's hot. Podcast is hot. I'm hot again because the lights are making me hot. And I think I realized too, if I go on a walk before recording, then I bring my body temperature up and then I'm really hot when I sit down to record. So last week I purposely didn't go on a walk because I had a feeling it was related and I was cold, right? This week I did go on a walk. Now I'm hot again, but I was mad last week because I didn't get my steps in because I opted to not walk before the podcast and it was too late after. So I guess I could just not procrastinate the walk as much and just walk earlier and have a break between the walk and the podcast. But anyway, I had that realization. So to help cool us off, we have a short and sweet little icebreaker to kick us off today, which is, what is one tiny win that you had today? What is one tiny win that you had today? My tiny win from today, what's one cute tiny little win that I had is a tiny one. I thought of, I feel like is kind of big. A good tiny win for me is that I played piano this morning. You guys know that I am really into music. I guess you could say I'm a musician. Kind of. I'm not really super talented at any one instrument. I played piano growing up, or from maybe kindergarten to 8th grade, on and off, had lessons, and then I stopped in 8th grade, which was stupid. And so I know basic piano, and I taught myself guitar, as a lot of you know, so I know basic guitar. I'm actually probably better at guitar and can play more songs on guitar than piano. I can read music, but in terms of being able to just play and riff and write songs with an instrument, I feel like, yeah, my piano knowledge is low, and my piano ability, I guess I should say. I really want to bring it up and bring it back, and I've been wanting to just prioritize music more in general, and writing and performing and all of that. So I played a little guitar this morning, and then I actually turned on the piano and I played a little piano. Not for very long, but I did. So that was a tiny win. So let me know what your tiny win today was, either in the comments on the episode or send me a DM. I would love to hear and celebrate you. And if you don't feel like messaging me for whatever reason, which you should, but then just take a moment to think of it for yourself and celebrate yourself. But I would love to celebrate you also. So I am so excited for today's episode because I feel like I've had the inspiration for this episode literally since last week. Like since the day after recording last week's episode, I had to stop myself from sitting down to record this episode just right away because I knew that it would be better after a week. I and just timing space wise. I like the energy of having a new episode each week because there's more you I had a breakthrough that I was super excited to share after last week's episode, but I'm so happy I waited because it's developed and like the lesson has amplified so much more since then too. So I'm excited because I just feel it's like, when you realize something, it's like that scene in Elf I'm thinking of when which by the way, Elf is such a weird movie. It's funny, but it's weird. And so my sister and I were just talking about this. Sindri and I were watching it this weekend. We were baking Christmas cookies, and I've been loving the vibe. It's so funny how your vibe and just what you're into any given like you go through phases, you know what I mean, and how it changes. Because in fall, I was so into the vibes of the ambiance and like the vibes on TV, like the fall jazz. And I was so excited for Christmas. I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna do the wintry cabin snowy jazz vibe." And but that is like I just stopped being it. I'm like just not. I don't feel the same attachment to it as I did in the fall. I don't know why. But what I've been loving that feels so festive and cozy is just putting on Christmas movies in the background, like ones I've seen before, right? So I don't really have to watch, but it's giving just like this that nostalgia, cozy feeling, which I feel like is such a vibe of Christmas time. So anyway, especially during baking, I've been loving that. So he put Elf on because it was just something he had on. And I was thinking, like, there's so many funny moments, but the movie concept itself is like so weird and doesn't really totally make sense. Like, why is Buddy so childlike, but none of the other elves are? Like, I get he was a human raised by elves, but if all the other elves were childlike, that would make sense. But it's like they just don't really it's just like, oh, he's an elf. And so that's why he's like naive and like a kid. Like he doesn't know about the human world, but it's more than that. Like it's just I feel like it's weirdly executed. There are funny moments, it's funny, but it's also there's weird and there's like it makes me uncomfortable sometimes. And I'm not the only person who thinks this or has felt this. So I'm curious for your thoughts on Elf. But anyway, not like hating on the movie, just like curious if anyone else has questioned this or has an explanation for it. But why I brought that up was, because when he's like, I'm in love, and I don't care who knows it, right? Like, I feel like I just had this breakthrough, and I was like, I guess it's actually not the same thing at all now that I say it out loud, because it's not that I don't care who knows it. It's like when you're so excited to tell someone, but it's similar vibes, right? It's like when you have a crush on someone, right? And or you meet someone new or you had a first date and it went great and you're so excited to tell someone about it. I feel like I had this breakthrough and I was like, oh, I'm so excited to talk to them about this. Like, I'm so excited, but I couldn't yet. So I'm very excited to dive into it today. And last night I was falling asleep and thinking about recording today. Like last night it was tomorrow, but now it's today. But I was thinking about recording for this episode. And what happens to me all the time, I have to stop myself from starting to think about something because I start saying the episode. Like I can't help it. It's like the episode starts channeling through me and I'm like, I love this. This is great. This sounds so good. But I need it tomorrow when I'm sitting at the mic, not right now while I'm lying in bed. And I don't, it's almost like I have to stop I have to stop it from coming through. Cause I'm like, if it comes through then, it won't come through later. You know what I mean? It happens to me in the shower too, where I'm like, I need to stop this from coming through so it can come through later. Because if it comes through then, I'm gonna like lose it later. That's when it's fresh and alive. And it's like, I can't let myself express it because I'll lose the energy of like the first time that I'm expressing it. You know what I mean? I'm curious if anybody else experiences that. But anyway, so long story short, all that to say, I could not wait to sit down and finally record this podcast episode because I just have so much to share. And what it really stems back to is putting out last week's episode was so healing for me. And I did not even know that was going to happen. It healed something I didn't know needed to be healed. And it's brought so much clarity and really such a deepening of this lesson, which is so funny to see now looking back how many times in different ways this lesson has come up over the past week. Remembering my inherent worthiness and my inherent value as a human being and where that comes from and how that relates to my self expression. And I'm so excited to talk about it today, especially because it's just hilarious because last week's episode was about owning when you're wrong, right? Or that was a big part of it that I talked about. And it's funny because I'm like, damn it, I wasted my clickbaity title because I labeled it, I was wrong, right? Because it's about being wrong. And I did technically tell a story about being quote unquote wrong, like when I decided to stop being vegan. But it was a little clickbaity because I wasn't necessarily confessing anything in that episode. But in this episode, I actually am, kind of confessing or sharing about realizing I was wrong and like being wrong publicly in a way, which, I talked about this last week a little bit, but to emphasize, you're never actually wrong, right? There is no wrong. It's just you realize things you didn't realize before, right? You change your mind, you expand your awareness, your perspective, or you realize maybe you made a choice or shared something from a place of fear or disempowerment instead of from truth or empowerment. And so it's like, oh, that's not how I would have wanted to show up, but it's never wrong. It's always just truth, right? Again, we're always trying the best we can. So if you could have done better, you would have done better, right? I always come back to that. If you could have done better, you would have done better. And there's no better. There's just you and what's true to you. And that was your experience. And that's how you showed up. You know what I mean? No one is ever trying to not do their best. We're always trying our best. We're always trying to be as us as possible. Like we're always trying to be in love and truth. Even if you think someone isn't, like deep down, subconsciously, they are. Like that's what we're always trying to do. So it's like no one's ever trying purposely to look bad or be dumb or do something wrong or that they're embarrassed or ashamed of or to move from fear or whatever it is, right? It's just what's true to you and where you're at. So just to kind of like recap on what we talked about being wrong, right? Quote unquote. So it's not that I was wrong, but it was that I realized after the fact I wasn't showing up in alignment with what actually felt true to me, right? I'm going to elaborate more, but I just want to, I guess, communicate the nuance of I'm going to, for purposes of simplicity's sake, right, of communicating this concept, I'm going to say wrong, quote unquote, but we understand that wrong is like a nuanced word, right? Okay, just like failure, right? Just like all that stuff. The world is nuanced, life is hypocrisy, whatever. Also, side note, completely side note, don't know why I brought this in right now because it's not related at all, but well, I guess I brought it in because I was trying to do it. I saw a little podcast episode from Buzzsprout, which is the podcast distributing platform that I use. And it was only 20 minutes long and it was talking about not using filler words. And I was like, oh, let me click on that. Which also, by the way, another side note on top of a side note, classic. I never get sick of that. I just like, and I know it's becoming a little bit of a meme. Like, okay, John, yes, we get it. Like, you side note on side note, you tangent on tangent. But like, I just find it fascinating how my brain works. Anyway, what was the side note on this? Okay, side note one was the podcast episode. Side note two, oh, the side note two was just a reminder of how when you are truly offering something that people want and people need and solving a problem for people, the flashy marketing, whatever stuff really doesn't matter. Because I just noticed when I saw that episode title and it just said removing filler word, it didn't say removing filler words because it was talking about talking. So it was like, how to use less filler words or whatever it was and something else. It was the most basic title, right? And on social media and in marketing nowadays, it's all about come up with the hook that is going to grab their attention and you can't just say how to in this and can't be basic. And it just reminded me, oh, I clicked on this basic ass title, how to speak without filler words, because that is a problem I have that I want solved, right? Problem, like it's fine, but it's something I want to work on, right? Like that is solving the thing that I want solved. And so I don't need it to be any special hook or title. I just need to know what's going to solve my problem. And I felt like that was just such a great reminder in marketing principles, right? And just in business of as long as you are providing something that somebody wants and you're solving a problem that they have, and that's clearly communicated, like you don't need to put all the flash on top of it, right? And I'm wondering why I feel like in the social media space, the reason that that is pushed so much is maybe just because a lot of people aren't actually thinking about, do people need this? Do people want this? Is this actually valuable to them? And they're more thinking about, this is what I want to push. And it's almost like the intention around a lot of social media marketing is, I want to get you to think you care about this thing that I'm talking about and want you to buy, right? Versus is something you actually genuinely care about, which is also like the core of sales, right? Is like literally if they need or want what you have to offer, that's the most important factor, right? And it should basically sell itself if you're confident in what you're selling and it's a good fit, right? And yeah, I think that's why there's so much discussion from social media marketing gurus about the hook and this and that, is because it's all coming from the convincing energy. And just remember that you don't need to be and should never be in a convincing energy. You should just be in the power of what you're selling and in the knowing that what you're offering is needed and desired by your dream clients. And it comes to the same with closing a sale too, right? That's why you should never worry about objection handling or trying to convince someone to close or using a sales script. You know, the sales psychology. I just was talking to someone on a market research call the other day, and she was talking about how she needs to learn more about sales. She's newer in her business and she's in a sales course. I was like, just out of curiosity, what are they teaching in there? And she's like, oh, you know, sales psychology, like how to handle objections, sales scripts, and how to generate leads. And I was like, that's useful information to know. Just a word of caution, though, that learning that kind of stuff has really only screwed up the sales process and my confidence in sales for me and I, not my confidence, and confidence in sales for me and my clients. Like, I don't know that I've ever had a client who was like, yes, learning all of that sales script and objection handling and intimidation tactics helped me sell something, right? Like, and it's never really helped me either. And again, it's helpful to learn the structure sometimes, right? Like to know, oh, okay, like, but you learn it once, right? Yes, you want to find out their problem, right? You want to find out their goal, and then you position your offer as the bridge, right? But in reality, if you are just clear and embodied in your work, if you are clear and you know what you're offering, you know what kind of problem someone has that your offer solves, and you know what the goals are of the person that your offer is going to help, then those questions should come naturally to you, right? So when you learn sales scripts and things like that, this is like a completely other change. I promise we're going to go back. When you learn that kind of stuff and then you go into a call, you actually show up so much less confident because now you're like, oh, I got to remember the script. I got to remember to ask the right question, right? And they answer, you're not even fully present with them because you're like, okay, now what's the question? And like, how do I position this back, da da da, right? Whereas if you just go in like, hey, my only goal here, because the thing is, again, they're going in with the goal is to close the sale no matter what, when that is not your goal. Your goal is to close the sale if it's aligned, right? If it's actually a good fit. And if it's actually a good fit, again, right, like you don't have to push anything. It'll just happen, right? Like when it's actually aligned, the sales call is just a confirmation. It's not where you make the magic happen. You know what I mean? At least that's not how I approach it. And I don't really think it ever should need to be the way that you approach it. Like, you should never be having to push it on someone or convince someone of anything, right? Like that is not, at least not aligned soulful sales, right? And so to go back to what I was saying, when you go into a call with the intention just of, I'm genuinely curious to see if this is a good fit, right? And if it is, then I'm excited to offer this to them. And if it's not, then like that, my only goal is to find that out, is to discover that answer, right? And the problem is most people go in thinking the goal is to close a sale, and then even if it's not a fit, they still try to close it, and that makes you all off, right? And you're thinking of the script and it makes you less confident, right? Whereas if you go in with no goal other than clarity, you can't lose. And so if you go into a sales conversation that way, right, then you should just know what you need to ask. This is how I go into sales conversations. I don't think, oh, what's the right question to ask? I got to ask the problem, the goal, and then position this, and then show the value, and then wait to say the price or whatever. I ask myself, what do I need to know if this is a good fit for them? And I ask that. And then I ask myself, what do they need to know if this is a good fit for them? And then I share that information with them. And then I conclude based on that information, is this a good fit or not? If not, I say, I actually don't think this is a good fit. This is why. If I do, I say, I think this is a great fit. This is why. And that's the pitch. And so you can actually let sales be so easy. Didn't know we were going into a sales masterclass today, but I guess that's also what's happening. If you remember that your intention is not to close the sale at any cost, it is clarity, right? It's clarity for both of you, and just, again, authentic expression. And then the questions come naturally and it all flows. And yeah, so how the way I got onto that sales thinking about that was because there's a big problem in marketing where people are like trying to just convince. And that's where all of the rules come from. And it gets you in your head. And it's like, if you just drop that, be like, oh, I don't have to convince you. I just have to know that I'm solving a problem for someone that actually needs this problem solved, and that I will solve that problem, right? As simple as, oh, this person wants to use less filler words, and that's a problem I'm solving. Like, the problem is most people don't have enough clarity and specificity in their offer. And that's why they end up trying to like cover it up with flashy marketing. But if you're truly so clear and specific in your offer and embodied in the power of what you're offering, sales and marketing becomes so easy. And you can literally just be like, hey, this is what I'm helping you do, right? Another aspect to that is that on social media, there are a lot of people solving similar problems, right? So it's like, if I were to be like, I could just say how to sell without the ick. There are a lot of people saying how to sell without the ick. So when you talk about wanting to stand out, people are afraid you're going to blend in because there's a lot of people solving that problem. But even then, I would argue, number one, that's why personal brand and authenticity is so important, right? Because you're not just solving the problem, you are solving the problem, right? And that's how you stand out. Number two, if someone really wants to learn how to sell without the ick, they're probably still going to read your post or click on your episode or whatever it is, because they still need that problem solved, right? So even though there are other people talking about how to sell without the ick, if this person still feels like they haven't gotten the solution, then they still want more information, or they still need a breakthrough, where they still want a service that's going to help them change that, right? They clearly haven't found the solution yet, or they wouldn't still be clicking, right? So it's like the motivation is never going to change. I feel like we could all just benefit by really coming back to like the basic timeless principles of business and marketing and sales, which there are so many more. Like relationships is another one I talk about all the time, but guess that wanted to come through today. If you've been feeling icky selling or questioning your selling process, or I don't know, overthinking your hooks, then that was for you. Not quite back to our regular scheduled program yet, because we still have to go to the second side tangent, which is about what was it about? Oh, the podcast episode, right? How to not use filler words. So basically, one of the tips they gave was to talk more slowly, which not a personal strength, but so I'm trying to speak more slowly, and I guess just more intentionally. And I do usually do a little bit of grounding before I record for that reason, so I know I'm not like completely chaotic. But this time I actually did a little bit longer. I did some breath work. I dropped into my body and set my intentions for the episode. And so I'm just practicing. One of my 2026 goals that I'm really excited about is to do a TEDx talk. Claiming it here. I'm doing a TEDx talk in 2026. Well, I'm at least applying for one, right? And preparing one. And so I really want to work on my speaking habits. And so, yeah, I'm trying to, if you notice that I'm talking maybe a little bit more slowly, or if I sound like I'm not as flowy as usual, it's because I'm trying to break out of the default patterns and habits of using all of those filler words. Another interesting thing they said was actually it's not desirable to cut them out completely, which I agree with. I still like saying them sometimes. I think it makes it sound more personable, more just like me. That's how I talk. And sometimes it kind of just lessens your point. It kind of takes power away from your statement, right? Like just there. That's a big one I do is I say right a lot or and it's almost like you're making a claim, you're stating something and then you're immediately asking a question back, almost like you're asking for like validation. It's like it just sounds a little bit less confident subconsciously and feels a little less confident too. And so anyway, I'm working on that and so I just was naming that because I've been thinking about it. Trying to speak with more intention and thoughtfulness and trying to let myself fill the pause with a pause, or I guess let myself not fill the pause, right? So if I'm thinking through a thought, because a big reason I often use filler words is because I am thinking my thought through, because a lot of the time my mouth moves faster than my brain, or my brain moves faster than my mouth, or both. They have both happen at different times. And so I'm trying to let the sentence breathe. Let there be white space. I think not only does it sound better and feel better, but yeah, I guess just not only does it sound better, but it feels better because it's also being okay. It just feels more balanced. It's being okay with space, with silence. Letting that pause be okay. There feels like there's such a power in that. There's power in the pause. Have you ever heard that expression? That's what it feels like. It's the phrase that there's power in the pause in a different context with speaking. Because you don't need to be filling every second with words. And it allows for you to put more intention and thought into what you're saying and how you're expressing. So it's something I'm playing with, which is fun. So anyway, that was the second side tangent. If you notice that I'm pausing more than usual, that's why. Okay, so back to what I was actually so excited to talk about this episode. I can't believe that I somehow got half an hour in without even talking about it, which is just perfect proof of what I want to talk about. But okay, so basically what I was saying is putting out last week's episode was so healing for me in a way that I didn't even know I needed to be healed. Because I felt so off after recording last week's episode. I did not feel good about it. My body was fighting. It was like, no, this was bad. That was wrong. You did something wrong. It was not good. Like, you need to re-record this. You need to edit it. Like, we didn't like that. Like, contraction in my body. And I was like, okay, what is this? And I was also rushed, it stopped recording halfway through. There was a lot of stuff and I was like, maybe I just felt rushed and that's why I just felt weird about it, and maybe this and this. And I didn't really know why. And I basically was just like, you know what? Like, it doesn't matter because I'm not re-recording it. I'm not going to edit it. Like, this is the intention I set for this podcast. This is what my current priorities and goals are right now, and stretching my self-expression and showing up fully, completely, 100% authentically, me, unfiltered, raw, unedited. Like, that would violate all of my principles. That would be completely against the message I have for my brand, for the podcast, what I'm trying to live and embody right now. I'm not doing it, right? And so it really was a healing moment because I could feel how much my body was fighting me. And it's interesting because, you say listen to your body. You got to really have your discernment on, because sometimes your body is actually like just your nervous system. It's like a pattern that you actually don't want to energize. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes your nervous system is just needing to feel safe, right? And you actually have to be with the emotion and process it. And because I think I easily could have, and a past me probably would have interpreted that feeling as, oh, this was not aligned. This was bad. I should go back and redo it. And the thing was that actually there was an element that was out of alignment, which was why it felt bad. But the lesson that was so important for me there was to basically realize, okay, even if there was something out of alignment, even if I did say something that was wrong that I didn't like, that I didn't feel good about, that's fine. I'll just still put it out and record a better episode next time. I was like, wait, this is the perfectionist part of me that, like, honestly, probably inner child, right? Screaming, it's not safe to put it out this real. It's not safe to mess up publicly, right? You can only mess up in private. Now that we figured out something was off, you have to go back and change it because they shouldn't get to see that part. That's not safe. You have to go, now that you know better, you have to put that out. And it was such a healing moment for me. I know I keep saying it was such a healing moment, such a healing moment, but it really went, like, it healed something in me, you guys, to like have this moment breaking out of perfectionism in a way that I never have before, where I was like, I'm okay putting that out, and I'll just tell them next episode what I realized. You know? Like, I'll just let myself grow and evolve, and just because I've grown and realized something doesn't mean that I have to go hide the fact that I made a mistake, quote unquote. Again, like, that isn't even a mistake, right? But the fact that I did something that I maybe wasn't as proud of or whatever it is, right? It's really the next level of perfectionism, because this is something that I always say to my clients and to myself. It's obviously so much easier said than done, but successful people don't have time for perfectionism. Successful people don't have time to be perfect. Successful people do not have time to be perfect. And when you think about the really successful, booked out, getting speaking gigs and all these paid opportunities and traveling and serving a bunch of clients and really living her life to the fullest version of you, right? The fully successful, again, successful is subjective, but version of you, would she have time to be like, oh, I got to go back and edit and fix and re-record that episode because I said something that was a little weird because I changed my mind on something I said? No. Like, she does not have time to go back and do that, right? And I knew the episode was still super valuable and super good, right? It just wasn't perfect, right? Like, it wasn't up to the perfectionist standards. And of course, nothing will ever be perfect, right? But I think when you have a perfectionist mindset, a lot of the time you can be like, if I can actively see a big flaw that I could change, you feel like, well, I should at least change. Like, yes, I know I won't be perfect, but I should at least change everything I'm aware of that I don't like, right? And so the lesson for me was really just embracing and being okay with, no, I'm going to just put it out even though I think it's a little bad, And again, I knew that it also really wasn't that bad at all, but it was like pushing through that discomfort and being like, I'm okay with putting it out even though it's a little bit bad, right? It's the same as like putting out the cringe. It's like, actually, I'm just going to put it out and just put out something better next time, right? I'm going to get the growth. Why waste a perfectly fine podcast episode just because, you know what I mean? I'm just going to put out a better episode next time. I don't have time to go back and fix that. And I feel like what it healed was this, like, now I feel unstoppable now. Because now I feel like I've pushed through this fear of and this discomfort with if it's bad, I can't put it out there. If I was wrong, I can't put it out, which is so funny because that's what I talked about. I literally talked about, like, it's okay just to be wrong and just own it and then own it again. And that's literally, it's like I gave myself the lesson. I initiated that lesson by recording that episode, which is so funny. But it's literally like, now I'm like, well, I don't care what I put out because if it's bad, I'll just put out something better later. I even also and then I've seen this come up in so many different ways because I put out a post on Instagram the other day that I thought I was like really proud of. And then I kept going back and I was like, I feel off about this post. Like, this feels wrong. It feels weird. Something is off. I don't feel like I like posted this from the right energy. And then I finally figured out what it is, which I'm going to get to in a second. But I had the same thing where I almost was like, should I delete this? It's not me anymore. I'm not representing myself accurately. And it was this like new way of showing up and relating to, my brand and my business and my self-expression and my public persona and everything, of just like, no, I'm going to keep it there and just let myself grow and evolve visibly. Like, that's the whole point too. That's why I do this and share this experience. And yeah, I just felt such a new sense of empowerment where I was like, wait, yes, it's bad. Yes, well, it was good, right? But yes, it's not up to the standards that I now have because I've grown, I've realized more, and my standards have now up leveled. And like, it's fine, it's good enough. And I'm okay with having that out there. It was just like, I don't want to get too repetitive, but very, very powerful. So that really healed something in me, and just being able to push through the discomfort and telling myself. And I really brought my body back, and I was like, it's safe. It's okay. I know it feels scary to put that out and not have the mask and not go back with, the most up-to-date information that you have to make sure that like you still look smart or look knowledgeable or whatever it is. But I promise it's fine. It's safe. And I feel like pushing through that discomfort and still doing the thing, still putting it out there, not hiding, not deleting, not editing, right, is how you cast the votes to your brain and to your body and show your nervous system. You actually build the proof and the evidence of, look, we showed up authentically, we didn't filter, we didn't edit, and it was safe. And then it will feel safer next time. And I've been really building the muscle of showing up as authentically me. And it really is a thing you kind of have to put the reps in and just notice, oh, I noticed that I was less authentic there. I noticed that was coming from the wrong place. I noticed that I filtered there and I normally don't. And then you just build the rep, you push through, like you let it happen. And then next time you show up more, and then it feels scary. You push through, you keep doing it, and it starts to feel safer and safer. And you really start to feel unstoppable the more that you just do the things that you're afraid of doing. Because if you give into the fear and you let yourself edit or you let yourself change or whatever, you'll never know, you'll never cast the vote, and you'll never develop the proof that this is actually the safer, better, more fulfilling way of doing things. So that was the one piece of it. But the lesson that really evolved from there was realizing what actually fell off, what I didn't like about the episode itself. And I didn't actually put two and two together and make the whole connection until just last night. And it was all around me not seeing or believing in my inherent value. And this pattern that I've had, like most of probably my entire life, that I've worked through in layers since starting my business, of feeling like my value comes from something outside of me, or my value comes from how much I'm doing or from how much I know. And I need to be providing value, right, in a way other than just being me and just expressing and sharing my heart, right? And so that's where, I need to be educational, that whole thing, right, that I knew coming into the podcast, I talked about in the premiere episode, that I wanted to shed, right? What it actually was a layer deeper. It wasn't just that, like, I don't want to provide education, because you guys probably could heard me talk about like being a little confused even in the last episode, which is where this came from, of like, wait, but I do like, providing value and like educating you guys on things, but like I didn't know what felt off about it. And what it was not that I don't want to provide education. It was that it was coming from a place of, I am providing this education because I feel like I need to provide it to be valuable, for this episode to be worth it. But it felt so off, and it was not aligned, because that I knew that to not be true on a soul level, but that's what I was operating from. And so last episode, when I said I'm going to try out this format, that was what fell off. And it was so funny too, because looking back, I could even pinpoint exactly when I started to feel the energy switch, and I didn't like how it felt, but I didn't know why. And I was like, oh, it's just because the recording stopped. I realized the mic wasn't plugged in, and that threw me off my vibe. That wasn't it. It was because that was right when I went into the last section that was meant to be like the expert educational section. And the problem was that that was coming from the wrong place. That was coming from that falsity. It was coming from a feeling of need and obligation. And I was like, oh, I'm not letting myself be in the expert energy, and I'm not. And it wasn't that. It was that I felt like, oh, if I don't have this segment, if I don't provide value and talk about an educational topic, then the episode, people aren't going to want it, right? And I felt like I needed to show up in that way to make the episode valuable. And that wasn't what felt right to me. And it wasn't actually what I wanted to do. And the epiphany I had, which is obvious, but aren't all epiphanies obvious once you have them, was I do provide so much value in the episodes just by showing up and being me, like by me showing up and just expressing myself and talking about everything I talk about and telling stories and just whatever comes to mind. There's so much inherent value baked in. There's so much perspective baked in, right? Even just like my energy is an activation in itself. And it really brought me back to the remembrance that my magic is just in me being me. Your magic is in you being you. I mean, duh, it's the whole message of the podcast, of my brand, of my work, of everything. But again, it was just another layer, a new, such a deeper, visceral understanding and just a remembrance of that's the value. Like your value is in you showing up, sharing your heart and sharing your truth. And the value is inherent to that. You don't need to add anything on top of it to make it valuable. You don't need to change or present it in a certain way, right? It's not about, you don't need to show how smart you are or that you have this knowledge or present it in this way or do more, whatever it is, to give value to people, to a relationship, to the world. Like you were designed perfectly to naturally deliver the magic that you're meant to bring into the world. And so all you have to do is just show up and be yourself and share your heart. And that is the value. That is the magic. And oh my God, I just got so hungry all of a sudden. Like all of a sudden my stomach was like, oh my God, I'm starving. It was strong enough that it distracted me from my thought. And I lost my train of thought. Coming back. Oh, yes. It's like, I don't want to be known for how much I knew or how smart I was. And I don't, that's not what I want to build my movement on, right? I want to be known for my heart, for my expression, for my personality, for my energy, for my thoughts, for my opinions, for my humor, for my creativity. And yes, for my intelligence and my talent, because those are pieces of me, but it's like not pedestaling that as like, this is where I derive value from, right? And like letting, I also got this ping that was like, share your stories. I want to share more stories. I want to share my stories. And I was like, oh, like I just want to share my stories and let the value come from there. And so this ties us back to the Instagram post because I had posted the post and it was a great breakthrough, but the way I presented it was still from that old mindset, which also comes from like how I learned early on to market online, right? Of I need to give you a breakthrough, right? You are thinking this and this is how you're actually feeling and thinking. And I'm telling you, like I know better than you and I'm telling you how you feel and what you really want, right? This is how I'm going to give you the breakthrough and activate you. And that is what just felt so off to me because I was like, wait, I don't want to be talking at you and just telling you, hey, this is how you feel and I'm the expert, right? I want to be activating you and I want to be sharing with you and communicating with you. And like, I want to be in it with you and inspiring you and activating you and raising you up, and I want to be just sharing my heart with you and connecting heart to heart, not connecting mind to mind or trying. The thing is like, you're trying to hit people in the feels, right? When you're marketing or when you're just sharing and wanting to have an impact and change someone's life, you are trying to connect to their heart, to their soul. And so it's never going to work when you're trying to connect to their heart and their soul, but you're moving from the mind, right? Mind doesn't connect to heart and soul. Heart and soul connects to heart and soul, right? So I wasn't heart to heart because I wasn't sharing from my heart. And I had this moment where I was like, wait, but if I want to share from my heart, how do I make sure they have a breakthrough? Right? Like I need to make, and it was like putting this responsibility on me. And it was so funny too, because I was also wondering earlier this week, I was like, why do I feel like I'm attracting a lot of people recently who are not quite at the level of client that I normally attract? I was like, wait a minute. Like, I feel like I'm attracting a lot of people that are like the kind of clients or people that I was attracting and interacting with early on in my business, right? Who are kind of like more me more disempowered, more, like I was just getting a lot of that energy and you know, coming across people like that. And I was like, wait, like, where are the high level baddie empowered women that I normally work with and that I thought I was talking to? And I realized, oh, I had gotten back into this mode of trying to show up like the expert, right? And that's talking down. Like if I'm telling you, oh, this is how you feel, and that is like not speaking to somebody who's in her power already, right? And so the most powerful activation actually comes from when you can just share from your heart, share your story, and trust that the people on the other side can have the breakthrough on their own, right? Like can take what they need from it. You don't have to force that takeaway down their throat. And not that you can't still give a conclusion or share a takeaway, or like apply a story back to their experience and make that connection. But it's just the energy of like assuming that you don't have to do so much and you don't have to force it. You just get to share and let other people meet you there. Like it's kind of the energy of like you extend the invitation and you let them rise to that frequency. You let them be like, hey, I'm gonna put this frequency out into the world and you can rise and meet me here if you want. Like let that activate you or don't, right? But I'm not gonna try and pull you into it. It's that energy. And it's a very nuanced conversation. I know there's kind of like lots of different like flavors and aspects of this lesson that I'm sharing. But what it really comes back to at the core is just remembering that you are the value. You are the value. Like you sharing your heart, that is the value. You being you, expressing yourself authentically, that is the value. And people ask me, I just had someone ask me this again on a market research call the other day. And I talked about this briefly on a podcast episode a couple weeks ago about, how do you know, like I want to be vulnerable and show up authentically, but I also don't want to be like trauma dumping or just like live processing or, how do you know the difference? And I told her I had a breakthrough about this too that I feel like I've never quite explained it in this way that I feel will make it really clear and easy for you. Number one, if you have the awareness to ask that question, you're probably not going to end up doing the latter, the thing that you don't want to do, right? If you have the awareness to ask, you have the awareness to know the difference. Because the people that are doing that are people who don't have the awareness that they're even doing it, right? And number two, the difference, I never knew how to articulate this before, but the difference is actually simply just, are you sharing from an empowered place or disempowered? If you're sharing from an empowered place, then it's going to come across how you want to come across. It's going to come across not like trauma dumping, live processing, whatever. The difference is only, am I empowered in the share or am I disempowered, right? If you're sharing from a disempowered place, that's where it's like, feels like you're whining or feels like, there's no purpose in you sharing because it's like you're looking for attention or whatever it is, right? Not to say you have to be in your power all the time, right? But like there are other spaces to show up that way. That's the only difference. So I used to think too, it was about how much time had passed or like how past the experience am I? You know what I mean? And this has actually been another stretch for me with the podcast and just like this new evolution and era of my business and really leaning into the authentic self-expression and vulnerability because first of all, there aren't a lot of examples of people that show up truly authentically and vulnerable online and in the digital space and in the coaching space. Just in general, there aren't. But even the people who do, who I can look to and be like, oh yeah, they do that. They do that. I feel like no one really does it to the level that I do it. Like no one is hardly ever sharing in real time or like a few days later or a week later. It's like, usually they share it as a success story and they're like, hey, I'm being really open and sharing this thing I went through, but like now I have the success and I'm showing you, hey, like, it leads to that. And like, yes, those are powerful stories and I do that too, but I feel like I don't see a lot of people sharing kind of like the real time. And maybe that's because like a lot of the real-time stuff you go through is you're still going through it. You are still in that disempowered. You are still figuring it out, right? And you don't have anything to share. But I don't know. I feel like even like I share a lot of stuff that's like the day after I had the breakthrough or the next week, right? And I'm sharing like, guys, I feel like I really like take you with me on my journey. And I don't see a lot of other people doing that. And so it definitely, stretches you and gets you in your head of like, am I being too vulnerable? Am I showing too much weakness? But really that's what it is. The only difference is like, are you owning it, right? Like we talked about last week, are you sharing from an empowered place or disempowered? And if you're sharing from an empowered place, it doesn't matter how real time it is or how vulnerable it is. If you're sharing and owning it and in your power, right? And you're embodied in that. And on that note, okay, so you know how I talked about, okay, I have two more things left that I want to share. We are coming up in an hour. I really want to keep this one to under an hour, so I'm going to try. On that note, okay, the Telegram group I mentioned last week. So I also had so much clarity about that group that was piggybacked off of this, which was essentially I made the group and then I was still trying to make the group. I was like, oh, gotta add value, like gotta send an educational pep talk or perspective shift, gotta give them a breakthrough. And I was like, wait, why does this group suddenly feel off? I was so excited about it. And I was like, oh, wait, it's because I want the group to not be this, right? Like I want to show up from this energy. And so now I've slightly revisioned and rebranded the group. It's called Icons Only, and it is still for the same intention and purpose of like a place where we can connect offline, a space where we can, have a little bit more of what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of like a higher level of intimacy, I guess. Again, so it's kind of twofold. It's like a place where we can have that level of connection, right? Because I don't do email, and it's a little more intimate of a space. And if you want, and then also if you want to not be on social media as much, right? Like I want to have more spaces where we can connect and be off social and just have kind of a different vibe to it. So it's that. But what I'm going to be sharing in the group is going to be like a behind the scenes, like really real time, like you on the journey with me, unfiltered thoughts of like breakthroughs I just had. Because the podcast, again, I only have like an hour and I talk once a week, and I also fill half the episode with just distractions, right? So it's like going to be, multiple times throughout the week, like actually taking you within like behind the scenes of what it's like growing my business and just living my life and what I'm going through and learning and realizing, completely unfiltered, just real raw voice notes. I feel like everyone's now using like real raw, but like that's really the energy. It's like juicy, like realness, just like real raw realness, sharing just whatever is alive, like that's what I wanted the group to feel alive. I'm sharing what's alive. It's a behind the scenes, a door into my world, and it's going to be activating and expansive simply because of the energy I'm showing up with and how I'm sharing and expressing with you guys. And, again, the breakthroughs are going to be activations in themselves, but yeah, I'm going to be sharing and showing up from that energy. I wrote in the little description, it was like real raw voice notes, unfiltered behind the scenes thoughts, confessions, codes, and a little bit of chaos. How cute is that? Because there's going to be codes, right? There's going to be downloads. There's going to be confessions. I'm going to like be spilling the tea, right? And like things that I'm not going to be sharing anywhere else, because I feel like if you join that group, you're voting to be there. Like we have a deeper level of trust there, and it's a private group, right? So even though anyone could join because it's free, it's different than social media and even the podcast, which is like public facing, right? And so that's what I really want to be. It's like an intimate space for us to connect and be really real. And yeah, it's going to be very juicy and activating and expansive because of that. So that's the free group. It's going to be linked in the show notes, again, if you want to join. And that's kind of what to expect. I also did create the paid tier, which I'm really excited about. It's just Icons Only VIP. It's $111 a month starting out for the founder's rate, and you could join anytime. But essentially, the Icons Only channel is just a channel, right? So it's not a group. There's no like quite community discussion. It's more of just for the community and for me to express and talk to you guys. You can leave comments, right? But it's more of a channel, right? And receiving. Whereas the VIP tier is an actual group chat space. And there's different channels, so it's not just one big overwhelming group chat. There's a space for sisterhood connection, for sharing and celebrating wins, or just talking through things with the community, bringing anything that's relevant, like just having, girl talk, bestie chat discussion. There's also a channel for coaching and question and answer. So you can drop your questions in throughout the week, and I'm going to drop in once a week to answer questions. So that's a way that if you are interested in more direct or personalized support or guidance from me, but maybe it's not aligned for you to join one of my higher ticket and more intimate one-on-one coaching packages being in that group is a way you can still get support. We're going to have a space, I called it the portal, where basically it's going to be just different prompts and exercises and discussion for self-reflection, journal prompts, exercises, things related to your personal growth. We're going to have also a space called the studio, which is going to be more around creativity and creative prompts, even content prompts, creative self-expression prompts, and practices and exercises, things encouraging you to speak your truth more and to practice expressing yourself more authentically, like a little creative kind of playground and inspiration space, if you will. And so much more. I don't remember what else, but basically a more active participation and also a deeper level of access. So in the free group, we're also going to be having a free quarterly event circle gathering call, whatever you want to call it, for all of us to get together, have some community circling discussion, do an embodiment practice, talk about whatever themes are alive, have, a collective card pull, things like that. And then also I'll have some hot seat coaching and opportunity for guidance and connection there. But that's going to be only quarterly for the free group. And then in the VIP tier, we're going to have, you're obviously invited to that. And then we're also going to have monthly VIP calls where you can get coaching and guidance from me, and also here and there spontaneous somatic practice workshops and pop-ups and, different embodiment and meditation and journaling sessions and things like that. So the first one's actually going to be next Thursday, the 18th. So this is coming out Monday. So this Thursday, the 18th at 12:30 p.m. Eastern time. It's going to be a meditation and journaling sesh. And the theme is lighting your creative spark. So bringing back your creative fire, reigniting your passion, kind of letting like your free spirit come alive, bringing her back online, like lighting your inner magic, like bringing all of that fun, sparkly, playful, free-spirited magic and creative flow back online and unleashing that, because I feel like that's something I've been really feeling excited about recently. So we're going to have a little meditation, visualization, somatic, and journaling session that I'm going to be leading, this Thursday. So it's going to be part of the VIP tier, but since this is brand new, I'm opening up to anyone who joins the free Icons Only group. Number one, because I just started the VIP tier, so there's no one in it. And number two, so you can get a taste of like what the kind of stuff we're going to be doing and what it's like. So if you want to join that, just join the free Icons Only group and you'll get access. Also, I just learned, I think you can do little live streams in Telegram. And so I'm going to also be playing with that in the VIP tier of like just going live for a little mini pop-up somatic practice or things like that. And I want it to feel flowy and fun and spontaneous. And so it's going to be scheduled, right? So, ahead of time if you can come, but also like, hopefully it's like you'll be able to receive when you're meant to. And like when the timing aligns, you pop in and get this practice or get this thing, or you can drop in for this journal session, but it's going to be like in a live space. And so, those are kind of the two tiers and what I have going on. And that's kind of like my new vision for it. I'm super, super excited about it because I just feel so much more clear and I feel so much more aligned with how I want to be showing up and relating to you guys and how I want to be serving and what I want to be offering and the energy around it and just all of that. So I'm super excited about that. And I feel like I never would have even had that breakthrough if I didn't have that breakthrough of like, oh, I'm still like outsourcing my value again, or I'm like putting it onto this other thing. And all right, we're just coming up in a minute. Last thing I'll say is a quick little story that also relates to this that I wanted to share was it was so interesting. It's so interesting how when you look, it's so obvious, right? Like what's trying to come through, because Sindri and I went to a little holiday market earlier this week and it was cute. I was going to do a little B-roll vlog. I'm not sure if I think I'll still put it out, but I don't know. We ended up just like I didn't have like the best, most festive, coziest time. So I was like, but I think it would be funny to just do like a realistic, vlog about it. Wait, I need a drink of water. Sorry. But basically, like, it was a cute little market, but we ended up not getting out of the house until later. So by the time we got there, it was only like half an hour left. It was dark. It was really, really, really cold. And I felt like I just like wasn't in the mood because I had gotten triggered by something right before and I forgot. Oh, it was because like I got triggered because I wanted Sindri to offer to brush the car off, and I don't want to brush the car off, and I was mad because he didn't offer even though I didn't ask. And I just like wanted him to like it was something about that. I was just like annoyed with that. And then I was like reflecting on it and I was like, why did I get so mad about that? Like it's not like he does so much for me, you know, like he does so much for me without asking. Like I know that I have so much, you know, it's not like I'm feeling resentful because I do so much and he doesn't do anything and I'm over giving, you know what I mean? It was what I realized was I was feeling resentful for not being recognized for what I do, right? Like it's not that like we both do a lot equally, but it's like if I do one thing that he like doesn't acknowledge or doesn't say thank you, right? Even if it's like a small thing, then I'm like, oh, I was like, I'm not being recognized. Like that's what was being triggered. And I was like, I know it's not you. Like this is definitely a me thing. Like I'm getting triggered because you're not like acknowledging what I'm doing. And what I realized not until yesterday was the reason that triggered me so much was because of this exact thing, was because I was like, I think because I'm still have this underlying narrative of I am not worthy or like I get my worth and I provide value like to our relationship, right? And to the world through what I do. And so if you're not recognizing everything I'm doing and not acknowledging me for that, then I think you're not then I'm like he's not seeing my value and I'm not providing value to the relationship and I'm not worthy in the relationship. Right? And like he's not going to love me, right? Worthy and receiving love, right? I'm like he is going to love me because I'm doing enough and I'm doing things for him. And so if he's not recognizing that, then maybe he's not seeing it and not noticing it and then he's not going to love me, right? Like that was the thread like when I followed it all the way down. And I just wanted to share that other little piece because it's just crazy to see how deep these stories go. And they are going to show up in every area of your life. And also a reminder to when you get triggered, because I just as easily could have just kind of got mad at him and be like, you're not appreciating me, not recognizing I'm doing so much, whatever. And it would have started a fight probably, right? Because he would get defensive and whatever. But because I had the emotional intelligence and awareness to be like, this feels like a me problem. I can tell I'm getting overly triggered by something, right? And then we were able to talk through it and I was able to be like, you know, I actually would appreciate if you would, I like when you offer to do things without me asking, whatever. Like, you can still ask for those things. But I was like, wait a minute. Like, I am still, like, I provide value to the relationship just for being me, not because I do the dishes or whatever. Right. And it's just, I feel like it's so interesting because I actually had this breakthrough back in February. Right. Again, it's always layers, remember, and same lessons. Last thing I'll say, and I just saw someone the other day, I forgot who it was. It might have even been one of my past clients. Someone was leaving an intuitive message and she was saying, like, think about like the themes and the lessons or whatever you initiated or started in February, like that's circling back around right now. And I just had a full circle moment from February because I literally had a moment in February where I feel like this should be its own story and its own separate episode. But long story short, like I had a big financial scare moment in February. And I remember having a moment where I was like, I'm failing. And Sindri, I was like, I'm failing because like I'm having this financial issue. And Sindri was like just comforting me, you know? And I was like, why aren't you mad at me? Why are you comforting me? Like, you still love me? And he was like, duh. And I was like, wait, like, why? And he was like, you're like, how much money you're making has nothing to do with why I love you. And I was like, duh. Like, I knew that, but when he said that, I was like, oh my God, I didn't even realize that that was running in the background of my mind and that I was operating under this is why you love me, right? And it's just another remembrance like you are lovable because you are you. You're lovable because you're lovable. Not because of what you do or what you accomplish. You're lovable because you're you. That's what makes you lovable. Literally just you being you. It has nothing to do with any of that other bullshit. And it just felt like such a full circle because I was like, okay, this is my lesson to also be able to remind myself, like, no, he loves you because he loves you and because you're lovable, right? And like, that's why you love yourself and not withholding the love from yourself and being like, oh, I'll love myself more and accept myself more once I have XYZ, once I look better, once I make more money, once I accomplish this thing, once I get my habits in check, it's like I love myself and accept myself now. And that's a better motivation than anything to accomplish all those things. So, what a beautiful note to end on. Moral of the story, your value is inherent. Love yourself for you. You're lovable because you're lovable. And cast the votes, push through the discomfort to prove to your body and your brain that it is safe to express yourself authentically, because you're not going to be able to prove any other way than by doing it. So fight that inner perfectionist. And remember that you're not trying to convince people of anything in your sales and marketing. And you don't have to perform or curate or share a breakthrough in any way other than the way that you feel naturally called to share it. Trust the process. All right. I love you guys so much. Oh, and join my group. I'm really excited. Link will be below. I love you so much. And send me a DM if you want to join the VIP tier. All right. For the third time, I love you so much. Thank you so much for listening, for being here. I don't know why I keep getting tripped up on the outro. Like, I say the same thing every freaking time. But I'm like, what do I say? Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for being here. Now I'm thinking too hard about it. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. I love you so much. Have a great rest of your day or night wherever you are. And I will talk to you next week. Bye. Mwah.